we have to balance it out, your studies and the office and the other personal sort of thing. But anyway, take best effort that you can get, and then we'll see how best that we can complete the exam, right? So start it as much as possible, whatever the selected areas, and attempt the questions. And I am also not in a position to cover almost all the questions, but what I'll do is I will do selected questions and discuss with you. But if you do have any issues on rest of the questions, you can anytime call me or message me, email me. We'll give all details once on the last class, so that so we can discuss it and clear it off then and there, right? Okay, so having said that, so we'll try to start today's version. I have shared you with two materials, I mean lesson materials. One is a presentation, one is a reading material. Again, if you have time that you can read the content, which is a bit of lengthier, but no harm, right? If you have time, you can go through, but still that going through the presentation would do for exam purposes, right? So today's actually what we are trying to discuss is non-performing loans management, monitoring, rehabilitation of sick business units, and recovery action. So which again a part of a very important aspect in project financing, right? So once you finance a project, so there may be a chances the project or the business could go to bad level, like performing to non-performing. Then what we need to understand is, first we need to understand how we can identify these sick, so identify this bad, identify this problem categories. Then we need to know how we're going to handle those things, manage those NPL contracts, bad loans, right, sick projects and all that, right? So finally, most important things is not identifying, not handling, how to prevent, how to control, like, right? Because it's good that if you can do some actions, pre-approval and post-approval basis, where that nothing going bad. I know it's a Herculean task, but if you can do something to control your NPL flow, where regular to irregular flow, then you are in very good wicket in terms of managing credit. So those are three aspects that I want to discuss with you during the presentation. So I will take each and every each of these three areas in different intervals, right? Malaka, good morning. So join right now. So today that, as I just mentioned, so we are trying to discuss about NPL management and rehabilitation of sick projects, and how to manage the kind of sick projects, including some recovery actions. Generally, in a banking book, we know some facilities classify as on balance sheet, some facilities as off balance sheet. So on balance sheet is something where cash going out, booked in the balance sheet, right? So you're getting kind of NII. These are some of the features of on balance sheet. Off balance sheet is something where you are not going to book them in the balance sheet, or which is outside the balance sheet. For those facilities, actually there's no cash going out from the bank. It's a kind of commitment, responsibility, obligation on behalf of the customer, right? And then most importantly, you are getting fee income, right, in terms of off balance sheet. So we have seen some questions to this effect, where the examiner might ask us to describe what is on balance sheet, off balance sheet, give some examples for on balance sheet, off balance sheet, and kind of some features of on balance sheet and off balance sheet. So that is not exactly relevant to this section, but we have seen some questions to that effect, right? What is on balance sheet, what is off balance sheet? So on balance sheet again is, so you are booking them in a balance sheet, you are getting a NII, net interest income on that, and the cash is going out in terms of on balance sheet. Off balance sheet, it is outside the balance sheet, you are getting only fee income. There's no cash out in terms of off balance sheet. So that's how you differentiate the on balance sheet and off balance sheet facilities. So in terms of defining the Non-performing. So what we are trying to understand here is where we have some borrowers, could be individuals, sole proprietorships, partnerships, limited liability companies, public companies, right? There are so many, the parties that we could identify as borrowers in our banking book, right? And then when we give facilities to these customers, so we have two type of facility categories, that is performing advances and non-performing advances. So non-performing advances we define as bad doubtful debts as per section 46A of the Banking Act. So we will discuss what is 46A in the Banking Act. So once we identified as facilities as per section 46A of the banking book, those facilities we classify as non-performing loans, non-performing advances. So all the other facilities in the banking book, it could be termed as performing loans. That's how we understand performing and non-performing. And then once we say as per 46A, classified under NPL, non-performing, there are some facilities which exempted classifying as NPL. What are those? Right? So it's something about bank has the right to take legal possession of cash deposit. Maybe if the cash deposit is, say, lien to bank against a letter of set off, and then that cash deposit set, if you are going to setting off within 3 months, I mean falling beyond 90 days, those facilities could be exempted credit facilities. In vanilla form, it is something cashback facilities. We are not taking non-performing subject to these criteria. Means if the facility is cashback and you are getting a letter of set off with the due lien, and if the facility is going to overdue, and if you are going to set off the facility against outstanding within 90 days, and if there is a no excess over the cash cover, then that type of facilities we will call exempted under this 46A Act, right? Now, hopefully you are taking that treatment when identified and classifying NPL means cashback, so you can exempt following these criteria. Then as per 46A, so we basically classify facilities as NPL based on the period. So if you take product by product, there are 5 product classification. So this is very important slide because, as I was telling you at the upfront, they might ask questions on what is on balance sheet, what is off balance sheet, what are the features of on balance sheet, off balance sheet, examples on off balance sheet and on balance sheet, what is performing loan, what is non-performing loan, what are the exempted credit facilities of non-performing advances, and how we are going to identify non-performing loans based on the period. So those are the questions we generally, come across when we peruse past papers. So NPL classifications, if it is an overdraft, say if a customer is enjoying a current account, and if we give a kind of a facility, or give say excess on that current account, and if the customer does not settle the particular excess for 90 consecutive days, that could be an NPL. Or if we have given a facility limit to a customer, and the customers maintain that outstanding of that particular account is above the limit for about 90 days, again, it could be NPL. And if you have multiple accounts, right, and multiple limits, still outstanding above limits, beyond 90 days could be a NPL. In very simple, if the customer is having a limit, account to accounts, above the limit outstanding 90 days, NPL. If the customer does not have a limit outstanding beyond 90 days, it's NPL. So that's how the overdraft being classified as non-performing. Then monthly installment, 3 consecutive installments, including interest or capital, not paying these 3 months criteria, that could be termed as NPL. So 3 consecutive NPLs not going to pay installment, principal and or interest, then it is NPL. Then is the facilities where repayment to be happen in quarterly or biannually, then the installment is not going to pay within the 90 days from the due date. Say I am getting the STL today, so assume today is the 1st January, and then I have to pay it in 3 months, that is from 1st April. If I am not going to pay on 1st April or 31st May and 31st March, from that day onwards, I will be given 90 days to repay, because the due date is 31st March and 90 days to be there to repay the particular tranche, short-term loan. If I am not going to pay that, that could be classified as NPL. Then there may be chances the customer take a short-term limit, short-term facility, but he or she is supposed to pay at the maturity as a bullet payment. No interest, no capital, right throughout the tenor, but there may be a time we call a bullet payment. Say today that I am getting the facility, so I was supposed to pay that facility 31st December 2021. So within which I am not going to pay anything. So that's the arrangement I am having with the bank. But from the 31st December, I'll be given 90 days to repay that bullet payment, bullet installment. If I am not going to pay, then my facility can be classified as NPL. Credit cards, minimum payment, if it is in arrears for 90 days from the due date, it is NPL. So these are 5 product categories. Based on the period, we classify them as NPL. Okay. Now we know how to classify a facility as NPL. We know what is exempted credit facilities when classifying NPL. Now also we need to know, once classified, how we will reclassify as performing, because it cannot be continuously gone as NPL, because depending on the improvement, depending on the treatment, depending on the rehabilitations we introduce, the customer can come to performing category, right? In generally, if the facility is in NPL and if the customer is going to pay a full interest and capital in arrears, then you can reclassify them as performing. Say, if the customer in NPL, as per what the categories that we mentioned, and if the customer is going to fully pay interest and capital, overdue interest and capital fully settled, then he is automatically moved to the performing. But there are some occasions we reschedule this NPL because the customer cannot repay, moving to the NPL. Then we introduce reschedulements as one of the rehabilitation techniques, right? Once rescheduled, again you can bring back to the performing. However, depending on what stage the client is. What stage mean? Once you classify them as NPL, thereafter there are 4 categories. special mention, substandard and doubtful, loss. There are 4 categories. We can further classify the particular credit depending on number of days the credit is lying. We identified them as special mention, substandard, doubtful, and loss category. Right. If the client is in a special mention category, we reschedule at that category. Then we say a customer has to wait 3 months or 90 days after first repayment of interest and capital. Getting my point? Say now, I have a customer who is in NPL, means say 3 months consecutive installments not being paid, and from 90 days to 180 days, that's how we classify the special mention category. And now customer is in this special mention category. So we offer him a reschedulement. So customer accepted the reschedulement, and now he is going to start repayment. Suppose he paid the first installment on the rescheduled contract. After paying that first payment, he has to wait another 3 months or 90 days. And then you can bring back to the performing. But it means, so that 90 days also, he has to service the credit, right? He has to make regular repayments. Then other payment එක කරලා තව 90 days ගියාට පස්සේ තමයි වාට ආපහු performing එකට ගේන්න පුළුවන්. During that period also he has to service. But here, most important thing is, so depending on which category you are, the time taken to move to the performing category would differ. It's a substandard or doubtful, it's 180 days. It's a loss category, you need to wait 1 year, right? So it means if you reschedule a contract, and if the customer at the rescheduling, if customer is in loss category, you have to allow the customer 1 year to come back to the performing level, right? No, that means it's like, because now when customer in a reschedule or rescheduling status, NPA reschedule means you need to watch them for about 1 year, 6 months, 3 months period, depending on which category you were at the time of reschedulement. Right. So that's basically with that, we can sum up the initial understanding of what is performing, what is non-performing, under which act we classify them performing to non-performing, and how we are going to reclassify them. What do you understand by the on balance sheet, off balance sheet, some features of the off balance sheet, on balance sheet, examples of on balance sheet, off balance sheet, right? And the time taken, you need to wait from reclassification once the facility is identified as performing, right? So with that, I am going to move to further understand about the SICK business, SICK projects. Any questions? Malaka, good morning, Malaka. Any questions? Oshini and Sanjeev, any doubts? Clear? Clarification? Thanks, Sanjeev. Thanks, Malaka. Hope Oshini, you are good with. Okay, thanks. Then we'll move to next part. So SICK business unit. Now, like generally, that though there is a NPL, that's very formal definition in terms of 46A Banking Act. As a extension of the NPL, we now try to understand a SIG business, because now we say we are in project financing business. So we do project financing by analyzing the what you call project feasibilities, by managing the project risk. So we approve credit, we disperse with the kind of the project planning, disbursement plan, monitoring, and everything. But once you disperse, sanction a credit, over a period of time, depending on various reasons, the project cannot service its debt because it doesn't generate adequate cash flows. So in that scenario, you are trying to understand a business is not good now. A business is not regular. The business is not performing. It's something we call regular, it's sick, a problem, kind of. Right? Now, for easy understanding, the sick business unit is unit which fails to generate internal surpluses on a continuing basis and depends for external capital. Because say there is a business, initially, yes, understand you are not generating adequate cash flow to service project commitments. Hence that, promoters need to infuse some cash flow, money, time to time. But you can't continuously do this, because after some time, you need to break it even. Once break even, the next you are going to make in profit. If it's not happening, then we understand there is some problem within it. So it's sick status. So attributes are like unable to pay its debts as they become due in normal course of business, because there may be payment to creditors, payment for tax if applicable, payments to bankers, right? So you are supposed to pay generating cash during the normal course of the business. But if you are not going to do that, if you are unable to do that, means you have some issue. That's one. Number two, the value of company's liabilities are greater than its liabilities and equity. Because a company net worth is lesser compared to liabilities the company arrived at outsiders. Right? Because maybe short-term liabilities, maybe long-term liabilities, that is for outsiders. And that value is higher compared to the net worth of the company. Means there is a deficit. Even the bankruptcy, you are unable to pay it like. So, sick business attributes two things: unable to pay debts, and their liabilities are greater than that of the company's liabilities and equity. So with that you understand, yes, now we are unable to meet our obligation. Right. This is very important, because this type of question, this, as per the last paper also we have seen, I mean, this question has been tested. What are the features of balance sheet of a sick business unit for 5 marks? Then මේක බලාගෙන ගියා නම් කාට හරි ලකුණු පහම ගන්න තිබ්බා. Examiner might have taken, this and put a kind of a question. It basically tells what are the features of a balance sheet when a business is in sick. අපි එකක් හරි දෙකක් හරි බලමු. If the current liabilities, short-term borrowings would be high. Why? Because now you need to borrow short term to meet your obligations. Because the business is not happening well. So OD balance could be high, excesses may be there, short-term limits has been fully utilized, short-term loans been extended. ඒ ඔක්කොම අපිට දකින්න හම්බ වෙනවා මේ liabilities ගෙවා ගන්න බැරි වෙනකොට. Term liabilities, what happened? You are not going to pay your loan installments, arrears, right? So unpaid installments status continue. Equity is coming gradually down now because the business is not generating profit. There is a loss now. So that will be impacting your equity. On liability side, so you need to write what happens to current liability, what happens to term liability, what happens to equity. On asset side, similar, like current assets, stocks may be depleted, not moving. Maybe debtors not being collected, or credit like cash, nothing much in the wallet or nothing much in the bank. Some bad debts accumulating, irrecoverable debtors on the asset side. Fixed assets, inflated or unrealizable. There may be value. Maybe we can say the building is 200 million, but nobody is out there to purchase that 200 million worth asset. Intangible, those including losses and capitalized expenses would be prominent, because now there may be some expenses you have capitalized, put it under intangible, and maybe losses. So you can see those things also recorded under the balance sheet. So these are some of the things you can observe in a SIG business unit. I don't expect the same question repeated this time, because this has been tested on January paper. Ek June වලට ඒ කියලා හිතන්න බෑ, but you need to know what are the features of SIG business, features of a balance sheet of a SIG business unit. Now, it's very important area. I was telling you, so after understanding some basic features, so we need to understand what is SIG business unit, that we know. Then how are we going to identify, figure out the most important things? So we can say, yeah, this is SIG, this is bad, or this is like not happening. So everything can be told. But as a project officer, as a credit manager, we should be in a position to understand why this business is SIG. කොහොමද මේක SIG වෙලා තියෙන්නේ? Because identification is the key. Because otherwise you can't treat, you can't handle, you can't maintain, right? You can bring it back. For that, very important tool we call early warning signal, problem signal, right? So then before the early warning signal, then we need to understand what are the sources. We can say EWS, but EWS is another trigger. EWS being triggered by these sources. First one, account maintained by the customer, financial statements maintained by the customer, site visit, inspection, discussions with management and staff undertaken, debtor, creditor or bills portfolio, informal sources. So again, this is very important slide, because many times examiner has tested us on this area. So he might ask questions. What are the sources of early warning signals? And briefly describe sources of early warning signals. Then I will explain, ample example under each item so that you can take at least 3-4 items memorized and you can present it for the exam. Because this is very important again, not last time, previous times, this has been tested frequently. So, I mean, please go through and, be conversant with this type of, area, because easily you can score marks for this. Right. First one, account maintained by the customer. I mean, it's very easy, very accurate information source, because now most of the accounts being maintained at bank. So you know how accounts being operated, like check returns, continuous temporary overdraft, continuous excesses, TODs being not settled at time, and maybe cash flows are not routing through your accounts, turnover reduction, and payment delay, payment not made, short-term loan extensions, false assurances like, so I will pay by 10th, 15th. So it means ara monohari roga lakshana tika a symptoms api danaganna on. So when you want to, want the customer to pay month-end installment by 5 days early, so you are starting giving him a call. My payment ticket. So he might be telling you, mama haritama dannam 28 wenida. Now the 28th comes again, you are, in the morning you put SMS and say, Mr. So and so, so it's a kind reminder. So today your loan installment is due. And when you give a call, you might say, give me another date, like, you understand. So basically it means he's under stress. If not, he might be asking excess after excess, I pay karno, or maybe he's producing checks, and at the time of checks coming to realized and there is no money, and the check cut off, so he wanted to put up money, and then he might say, I will put in 1 hour's time, 2 hours time at AEOD. So it means that he is facing some difficulties. So those are features, problem signals, problem signs identified at accounts maintained by the customer. It could be current account, it could be remitter accounts, it could be loan account, it could be bank guarantee related account. So because it's under your purview, the customer's accounts at your branch, at your bank, and then you are trying to observe the pattern behaviors, right? Okay. Any questions? I know these are not difficult, but only thing is very important, right? Because I have seen many questions has been drafted in these areas, right? Then you need to memorize Kela, so you have to put a mark and do it, because easily you can get the marks also. Then number 2, financial statement, because depending on the project size, capacity, complexity, so we might have imposed covenants, conditions to the customer to submit, say, quarterly financials, audited financials, maybe debtor balances, stock statements. So there may be loan covenants in terms of financial statements related. Now the customer might not be, doing that. That's some major violations, like non-submission, delay, auditor qualification on accounts, change in accounting policy, changes of the auditors, changes of the accountants. We need to be very careful. When you observe the financials, when you ask that, you might say, so they are not doing a good job, so I sack them. Maybe accounting firm also has been now changed. Accounting policy. අපි කොහොමද revaluation policy එක කරේ ගිය අවුරුද්දේ ඊට කලින් අවුරුද්දේ, so this time you might have changed it. එතකොට අහුවාම කියනවා නෑ ඒක accountant කිව්වා we did it, but you can't do that. It's something consistency, right? So if you are not going to do that, means some hidden agenda within that. So you need to be careful. ඇයි එහෙම කරන්න කියලා අපි දැනගන්න. So in overall, this is what we need to be careful. ඊළඟට we have the balance sheet, we have the P&L, we have the cash flows. You observe that. Then originally you have something about refer, and every quarter or biannually or every year, draft, management, audited, a version what you know. Then you are going into the detail. So if you can see these things, deterioration of current ratio, quick ratio, inventory turnover, build up inventories, build up receivables like bad debts, negative working capital, build up creditors, creditor payments has not been paid on time, debt equity deterioration, net worth is coming down, negative equity, profitability has come down. So like this, right, something balance sheet related. Then if you see that things are not acceptable, you need to further question. Hey, then current ratios come down. So why the inventories build up? Why that you have not paid your creditors? I mean equity adu, right? So then when you are asking, you get the answers because you can early detect them. නැත්තම් දැන් මේක ඔක්කොම වෙලා අවුරුද්දක් දෙකක් තුනක් යනකොට කම්පැනිම bankrupt වෙලා ඉවරයි. But by doing these things, knowing these things, you can take early actions. Balance sheet, yes, you can continue reading, and then P&L එකෙත් මේ වගේම දේවල් වෙන්න පුළුවන්, right? Sales decline, no provision for depreciation, maintenance cost for the fixed assets means that it could have a future impact. Other income is like not consistent, profits coming down, losses increasing, cost increasing, finance cost is increasing, efficiency levels coming down, hence the cost of sales going up. So many things also can be noticed in the P&L also. Make it items තුනක් විතර ඔයගොල්ලෝ මතක තියාගත්තට කමක් නැහැ. Because now this is the second source, that is financial statements. You are getting P&L and balance sheet from the customer, and based on that, you are trying to ascertain the position, ascertain the performance of the firm in terms of financial viability. If you observe these things, then it's alarmed. You need to be cautious. Something is happening here, right? You getting my point? So then I need to do some preventive actions, controlling actions. Then third one, site visits, inspections, discussions with management. Because now earlier it is, we can say, offline, because it's a passive sometimes, because P&L, balance sheet, cash flow submitted, historical data you observe, current account, savings account, whatever other accounts, yes, a historical something. They are passe tamai oya meka observe karanne. But this is proactive. You go and meet directors, senior managers, frontline, back office, maybe laborers, suppliers, creditors, other stakeholders. So meeting those things whenever you have time. When you go and visit and inspect the situation, now you understand different things. It's a first-hand information for you. Management, they might tell one thing. Senior staff, they might tell different thing. Actually, when you discuss with the laborers, supervisors, they might tell another thing. Then you are trying to compare what they have told with your knowledge, then you see something happening. And එයා කිව්වොත් අවුරුද්දට 5 million අපි කරනවා කියලා මේ level එකට එනකොට no, we do a different thing. But when you cross check with your machine capacity, labor, raw material, then you can see you can't produce the 5 million. But then operational level එකට එනකොට ඒගොල්ලෝ දන්නේ නැහැ 5 million ද කියලා, because they don't know about the pricing, but we can get an idea about their production. Maybe marketing discussion again, you can get an idea about, you know, marketing plan, market growth, market share, competitor data. And the top line, they say, you know, 5 million, 10 million, because they know the pricing and all that. So you can now combine 3 sources. Now there may be differentials. Then you can come up with, you know, overall picture, and then you renegotiate, pre-discussed with, you know, this is not possible. Some issue going on. What are your precautions? What are your, you know, actions to mitigate those? So this is very important perspective, meeting, discussions, site visits. දැන් අපි ඒකයි කියන්නේ project එකක් දෙනකොට project එක දෙන්න කලින් approve කරන වෙලාවේදී progress එක යන වෙලාවේදී completion එකේදී follow up visits very important. You can name it in different versions, but objective is to ascertain the progress of the project, ascertain the progress of the business, right? So that's what we try to do under this category. Very important, right? Then මේකෙදි තමයි අර අපි එකතු කරගන්න සියලුම දේවල් අපි කියන්නේ conceptualize කරලා idea එකක් අරගෙන then we say this is what we need to do, because if we are not going to act on what we observe during our visit, means there is a high chance of project going to be failure. Okay. Debtor, creditor, bills. That's again about working capital stuff. So how the movement of debtors, creditors, bills portfolio, delays, or maybe piling of stocks, bad debts, delays in credit, slow collection, and, you know, are you offering unnecessary discounts in order to collect debts? Finally, there may be, you know, a lot of impact onto the cash flows. So ඒකත් අපි බලන්න ඕනේ. Last one, informal sources. Very important these days, because sometimes these are not exactly correct. But very important. Maybe gossips, maybe Facebook, maybe newspapers, maybe like private get-togethers through suppliers, right? So you are collecting information. You try to, you know, see something out of this, right? It could be something about very bad behavior, bad practices, issues taken place their premises. That eva could be important. Maybe informal meeting that you are having with a branch managers in the area. එතකොට අපි එතනදී කතා කරනවා, how is this customer, how do you feel, you know, any issues that you know you have come across. So I see these things happening. ඒගොල්ලෝ මේ වගේ unethical businesses කරනවා. So that's all are informal. Formally අපිට එනේවා නෙවෙයි. Then sometimes you can see in the Facebook, it could be done by the competitor. It could be right or wrong, but it's a trigger. ඔයා බලනවා ඒක ඇත්තද බොරුද? ඒක නිසා මොනවා හරි දෙයක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්ද බැරිද? හරි? Then through these sources, what you could get is like bankruptcy, petition, some kind of a summons by the courts, adverse reports about the industry, firm, operations, firm in trouble. So මේ වගේ ඒවා accounts වලින්, financial statements වලින් වගේ visit එකෙන් දැනගන්නවට වඩා through informal sources we are in a position to collect. So these are the 5 informal sources that we try to collect. This is a completion of the part 2, right? So far what we have done, we try to understand what is performing, what is non-performing, what is the NPL criteria, what's the reclassification criteria, what is on balance sheet, off balance sheet with examples. That's part 1. In part 2, we wanted to understand how a facility could be identified as bad, as sick, as problematic. ඒකට අපි කිව්වා there is a tool called early warning signals. So early warning signals එක හැදෙන්නේ there may be 5 sources. What are the 5 sources? Accounts, financial statements, visits and discussions, bills, debtor portfolio, informal sources. So ඒ පහ අපි ඉගෙන ගත්තා. ඒ පහ ඇතුලේ we need to know at least 3-4 points, because sometimes we'll be asking to write a short note on these sources in understanding the problem loans. Right. Now we want to move to part 3. That is, now these are the triggers. No, let me trigger එක වෙන්න කලින් නැත්නම් මේ trigger එක අපිට එන්නවත් එක්කම there may be some causes, reasons for this failure, because the project we initially assume it's a good and we don't see any issues. We initially assume project is a success. That's what we were doing, no? That's what we were telling. These are the feasibilities, these are the risks. So how we are going to mitigate the risk against the feasibility? එහෙම කළා අපි loan එක approve කරනවා. And this project implementation schedule එකේ we කරගෙන යනවා. But now we see a project is going bad and we try to understand, identify it through EWS. ඒ අපි දකින ලක්ෂණ ටිකක්. That's the features. Identification is happening through this. හැබැයි identification in the කලින් there may be some reasons for project failures, reasons for sick projects. So ඒ reasons ටික හින්දා තමයි අපි මේක identify කරගන්නේ. ඒ reasons ටික අපි අඳුර ගන්න ඕනේ in order to control that, in order to manage that further. Right. Now we move to understand what are those reasons, causes of sickness. Right. Before moving to that, any questions up to now? Malaka, Oshani, Sanjeev, I think we have new member, Narasingha, 4 of you. Any questions on what we have done so far? Okay, clear. Okay, very good. All clear means I am happy and you all are happy, and I am happy only when you answer the questions when examiner gives you. So obviously I know there may be a couple of questions in this area also this time, so be ready with the questions for the examiner that is planning to give to you, right? Because now 2 sections is over. 3rd section that we are going to discuss with you, again, it's not difficult, right? I mean, you can understand it very easily, right, when we discuss it further. Hari. Then this is a project. We do a detailed feasibility analysis and the risk analysis, and we say this is good to be funded. Then අපි එක කරා. And thereafter what happened, over time, due to different reasons, the project could go bad. Like a sick project. That could be due to internal and that could be due to external. What are the internal? It could be managerial, it could be product related, it could be process related, it could be financial related, it could be marketing related. As a result of one or many, the project could go bad. Similarly, there may be some external factors also, like what happened recently. Nobody would have expected COVID-19 impact on many projects undertaken by our entrepreneurs or promoters. Or maybe like disasters, like natural disasters like say tsunami, or maybe earthquakes, right? Maybe floods. We are not predicting, right? ඒ වගේ එකක් ඇවිල්ලා වුණත් project එකක් bad වෙන්න පුළුවන්. That also sometimes unable to figure it out, predict, but better you have some controls at the project initiation, project implementation. මොකද නැත්තම් impact එක could be very heavy. Cost overrun වෙන්න පුළුවන්, project failure හින්දා you losing customer, in repayment may not be possible. So many things could happen. That's how the external perspective. Okay. Then internal, managerial, product, process, financial, marketing. So now we go and we understand at item by item and to see what's like this impact. What is the sickness causes? Now managerial is something the reverse flip side of the management feasibility, right? Or it's more or less similar managerial risk, management risk. Then now we try to establish a promoter or management are capable of running this project. ඒකනේ අපි කරන්නේ managerial feasibility, management feasibility. Then ඒකේ යම් කිසි අඩුපාඩුවක් හින්දා තමයි මේ managerial sickness එක. එහෙම නැත්නම් causes from the management may පෙන්නන්නේ, like incompetent, lack of leadership, lack of delegation, depth of key personnel, disagreement among directors, poor industrial relations, because these things cannot be found at the upfront. Then api, if you want to assess the management feasibility, we might have gone through these aspects based on historical. ඒගොල්ලෝ කලින් කරලා තියෙන දේවල් වල හැටියට අපි evaluate කරලා කියනවා, yeah, we are okay. Through SWOT analysis or whatever tool being used to assess management capability. හැබැයි when implementation stage, post implementation or pilot project and commercial operation, දැන් මෙහෙම යනකොට මේ වගේ දේවල් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Management may not be competent enough as we have planned. So leadership issues, vision issues, implementation issues. Then lack of delegation, lack of planning. That good strategy, but execution is not so great. Or one or two important personnel. Maybe death of one of very prominent person in the company would cause bigger troubles. Then disagreement among directors, partners, that is also an issue. Industrial relation, right? Maybe not good at, though we presume they could manage well, but now we see some issues taking place among the peers, among suppliers, buyers, so other stakeholders. So as a result, there are some issue in managing the company, managing the project. Hence that, there is impact on cash flow, business, market, operations. අනිත් ඔක්කොටම මේක issue එකක් වෙනවා. ඒක හින්දා අපි කියනවා now this could become sick. Hope you getting my point. Because what happen if the management is not going to do right thing? Some failures in managing the firm. So that could cause the sickness from the management perspective. Then number two, a product oriented. So that is you have not properly identified the particular product as the marketing level, as the piloting, as the product initiation, product development. Yes, you might have done right thing. But when we put into action, when we are in the market, right, when we are, doing the real test, we fail now. දැන් අර අපි පීනන්න ලැහැත්ති වෙනකොට swinging gears, එතකොට exercise and everything might have now done. ඊට පස්සේ when you are putting into the sea or river or pool, then you know exactly, the selective swimming gear example is not exactly right to compete now. අනිත් ඇත්ත එක මට පීනන්න ඒවා හරියන්නේ. Maybe good at sea, now ඔයාව දාලා තියෙන pool එකට එක පීනන්න. Maybe good at pool, but it's not okay for a sea swimming like that. Not that correct example, maybe just for your understanding. Maybe in operation stage, your product is not compatible. There may be substitutes. There may be cheaper models available. එතකොට අපිට market එක compete කරන්න බෑ. Right? Then, product superior, but there's no market for that. Or maybe a raw material that you have used, now it's not exactly giving you the exact product. So, product orientation is very important. So, if the things are not in line with expectations of stakeholders, then there may be product related issues, then could impact your total business, total project. Process. Again, the process you have selected, automation to machine to layout to training to raw material arrangements and everything may not exactly fit into the process that you want. Maybe after sales issue, maybe continuous breakdown, or maybe outdated sometimes process, maybe inadequate support from the labor to other sort of things, connecting to existing systems. It's not happening now. So process orientation, some issue. Financial, that again, yes, initially you have everything right, but ongoing operations might have created some problems in terms of financial. Example, equity, yes, we promised to bring this level, now you can't bring that due to various reasons. Or cost overrun, then increased debt. Maybe short-term funds might have used for the fixed assets, now with the working capital problems. Costing, pricing may not be done accurately, now you might end up with unplanned cash flows, reduced cash flows. So you need to go now outside and borrow because you can't start operations and banks are not, extending credit further. Finally, like unplanned capex, right, due to various maybe poor project planning or maybe sudden things that you need to be rectified. Right? In terms of financial, there may be some problems. So that also causes the sickness. Marketing, product right, process right, financial right, but marketing fail. Maybe research is not good as we expected. Maybe different changes in the market dynamics, or maybe too much dependence on the few buyers. Product varieties are not adequate. Distribution channels are not so great. Customer complaints, dissatisfaction due to irregular deliveries, like so many, things coming in your way. And planning stage එකේ තියෙනව නෙවෙයි, මේ implementation execution stage එකේ තමයි මේවා අපිට හම්බ වෙන්නේ. එතකොට as a result, then we have some impact on our operations, cash flows, our targets, motivation levels on staff. ඒතකොට ඒවා combine වෙනකොට we might have some issues. External maker is beyond everybody's control, but would have a huge impact on the business of the project. Industry recessions, technological changes, fashion consumer changes of the fashion and the consumer taste, infrastructure deficiencies, government policy, tax changes, international development, foreign exchange fluctuation like these days, right? Natural calamities like, flood, right? So many things like man-made disasters, maybe COVID, for example, right? So external causes. I mean, that could create bigger troubles, and we can't forecast, we can't sometimes control, right? So we need to, go by, whatever the regulations governed by the government. Like these days, imports stopped. Vehicle imports are not no more. It's what I think about. Example, the people who are engaged in this vehicle importation. So, I mean, huge stress on those people. I mean, not easy. So we can say now, why that you can survive at the existing vehicles, but you need to think about they might have already advanced vehicles that may be in the yard of Japan. You need to pay for that. The people who have given money for that importation, they also asking, bank also asking for whatever the debts that you have obtained. You need to retain, maintain your staff. I mean, so many things. I mean, beyond anybody's, everybody's control. Suddenly, due to this COVID and all that, government has taken some directions, actions, external, right? So basically, these are something that we need to be aware with. There are causes, 5 causes we talk about. What are those? Management, product, process, financial, market, internal. External one, that is what we have been discussed. Due to these 6 causes, the project, the business could classify, move to the sick category. Right. Now we need to know, because of all these reasons, we need to manage this problem loan, problem credit. Right. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Right. Then I will, before moving to the further, just give you a kind of some snapshot of on this area where you need to, what you need to know, and it's good for your exam revision purposes, right? It's like this. Now, say sick business or problem reduce. What we need to know is, now I am going to give you. First one is definition. Under this, we talk about EL, NBL, classification, on balance sheet, off balance sheet. Right. So, then we need to know identify right? Sick businesses we need to identify, that is through early warnings. EWS. So we 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is the identification is we have now done. How this identification? We know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. First one, accounts, financial statements, receipts, data, trader portfolio, and informal sources. So the A paha api dana ganna one identification key. Then here causes of sickness, because just to understand, identify, we need to know what are the causes also. That is external one and internal. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? Now, what we need to know, we identify. And by identify, now we need to handle, manage. Hamai jayenge api discuss karanne manage and control or preventive. Prevention also had to do, controlling also had to do it. Now, when come to the controlling part, that can be done in two ways. That is pre-approval and post-approval. I will explain kalina. Right. So what is this pre-approval? Pre-approval is what we have been doing so far. We talk about feasibility, we talk about financial, we talk about SWOT analysis, and all that. That is, you try to make this project, regular throughout the period. For that, we are trying so many actions. Conditions, coverage, security, other parameters. Right? So all effort you are getting. So that's a pre-approval. Like any other credit, you try to do a proper analysis. Pre-approval, we can control the sick business. Post-approval is something you try to follow up on actions agreed. Again, post-approval is linked with these early warnings. Then, if you exactly see what is the early warnings, let's say maintained by the account we observe the behavior of the account of the borrower. So means red, it's identification. Before red, amber green is post-approval follow-up. Then cash flow apita monthly dikatama enawada nadda කියන එක වත් දිගටම මොනිටර් කරගෙන යනවා නම්, let's say 10 million to 9 million 8 million වෙනකොටම you take actions. That's a post-approval. The result is the early warning. Then අපි ඒක දිහා බැලුවාම is continuous dropping is early warnings. හැබැයි early warning එක early stage එකෙන් දැනගත්තාම you can do the post-approval monitoring, post-approval follow-up, post-disbursement follow-up. Then valuation, renewal, insurance, renewal. Insurance lapses, early warning identification. Valuation not renewed is early warning signal. Financial not submitted is early warning signal. But follow-up on financial, follow-up on insurance, follow-up on renewal of valuation is the post-approval follow-up disbursement. That's how you control this. Yeah, QA sometimes exam papers, he might ask, what are the controlling aspects? As a credit manager, what do you suggest to monitor? What do you suggest to control? What do you suggest to prevent? What do you suggest to manage? කියලා කිව්ව ගමන් එතකොට මෙන්න මේ ටික ලියවෙන්න ඕනේ. හැබැයි where that you are getting the data is getting from here or maybe courses. මේ courses හරි early warnings හරි අරගෙන තමයි you try to do monitoring. Now example, if you see this some product issues කියන එක, right, maybe customer changes and taste differences කියන එක is a cause, but can't you do it in a post approval mechanism? Yes, because a continuous interaction with the customer, maybe the borrower, is a kind of a good follow-up. You might check with their business plan, business target, customer issues, market research. A continuous dialogue, if you are keeping with the borrower, is post disbursement follow-up, which could minimize these two. You getting my point? Because it's not nothing new, but when you put into this type of a diagram, then you know what is the follow-up, right? What are you going to do in the follow-up? Why do you want to visit the customer? At the visit, what are you going to check is the post-disbursement follow-up in order to minimize these causes, minimize the early ones. And මෙතන මේක list කරාට ඒක මෙතනදී අපි control කරනවා. Again, both pre-approval mechanism is something you do better on these courses. Then when you say about financial, so you do thorough analysis on here and put a covenant. We were telling customer to submit financials. Yearly කරන්නත් පුළුවන්, quarterly කරන්නත් පුළුවන්, biannual කරන්නත් පුළුවන්. But if you feel it's a risky, you will tell the customer submit financial quarterly. Or can't change, auditor can't change accountant without the consent of the bank is the pre-approval condition or maybe loan approval condition. So he can't change those personnel without bank's consent. Means if he's going to do, has to inform. If he has done it, breach of covenant. You are getting to know by quarterly or biannual. Then you can take precautions. That's what we say pre-approval actions to minimize the sick businesses. Right. Hope you have got the controlling part. Hope you have got the identification part. Now come to the handling, management part. That is, again, you can do it in 3-4. That is soft, medium, hard. 3 actions: soft recovery, medium recovery, hard recovery. That's how we're going to handle. What is a soft recovery? Say now customer is problematic, danger, is a sick, NPA. මොන වචනෙන් කිව්වත් එතෙන්ට යනවනේ. ඒ කියන්නේ performing to non-performing movement පටන් ගන්නවත් එක්කම you can take some actions. Just to call, visit, right? Give a interest rate reduction, give some concession, finding out a buyer, right? You try to help them, amicably support, amicably solution. Then taking hard actions, then taking kind of the cumbersome processes to get the customer to service. I mean, those things are not necessary. Just a phone call, just a visit, just a letter, just a SMS, a kind of a reminder. So that's what we try to do at the soft level. What about the medium level? What can you do medium level? This is what we call rescheduling, restructuring, rehabilitations, right? So you can name it and so many things. That means customer now NPA, customer now problematic, unable to come back as easy as when it's a soft level. So you need to give more support. Maybe again extension of tenor, interest rate attention, collateral, maybe in other markets, or maybe introduction of some investor kind of thing. Right? So again, medium level means it's not so easy to come to performing level. Suddenly he can't come. You need to give them a support. That's what the medium. Soft. Third, hard. Now there, no alternative. Right? I mean, you can't, do soft activities or medium activities. You need to take some hard actions, like one, legal expense. It could be arbitration, it could be debt recovery, it could be parate, it could be something about litigation, right? I mean, so many, activities which may not be the liking of the customer and liking of the bank, but we need to get, because we need to recover the capital, recover the interest, because this is not our money, it's a depositor's money. So we take some hard actions in terms of legal actions in nature. Right. So with that, we can stop the snapshot of SIG business or the problem loan management. Any questions on this before moving to the presentation? Any thoughts, any views, any difficulties in understanding? Any questions? All good? Malaka, Oshani, Sanjeev, all clear? Right, thanks. Okay, then we furthermore, the problem loan management, that again is not a difficult area, but just to complete the session, that we will try to learn, that is more structured manner, right? So problem loan management is something included a couple of activities like prevention, awareness, understanding the problem, determine the objective, devising the action plan, reporting, monitoring. So it is similarly, you do a new project appraisal, the same, but it has some different objectives. Now, status quo has been now changed. In a new situation, everything is very bright, lot of expectations. We do positive, we are positive, so we try to do. But when problem loan situation, things are not so great. We know that there is a problem has occurred due to whatever reason. Now project is not giving the cash flows as projected. We need to do something. So then our thinking, our strategies are different. So hence that we try to do in a different method. So that's why we do the problem loan management or the bad loan management or the special loan management by different units sometimes. Because branch relationship managers may not be very good at offering problem loan solution. ඒකට වෙනම qualify වෙච්ච expertise units branches වල නැත්නම් banks වල තියෙනවා. We call it different names, but we can find those situations, right? So just for understanding, you can classify them: early defaulter, difficult customers, doubtful, disease, legal action, bankruptcy. So you can classify. So these are not so important, but it's good that understand, identify which category type of customers we are dealing with. Now example, if they are in under legal action category, Yes, means that, you have to take very hard decisions. The documentation should be perfect, and the action plans to be recorded perfectly, and then the bank should be represented by the the prominent lawyers, right? So something that you on that track. But if the customer's early default is difficult, doubtful, now you might have to have different strategies. Maybe branch manager cannot involve, and then probably the regional manager, maybe at higher level, a person could go and meet and offer some solutions. So they might now believe, right? When the people coming from head office and meeting, probably customers may be happy. So they in the thinking at that, like head office can give a concrete solution, right? So probably they might in a better we can the customer's perspective, so we can depend the word from the head of his staff, like that. So this is the kind of the mindset. And then the customer is in trouble, so if somebody outside come and explain the situation in a different language, probably he might understand that better. And so I mean, so many things that you need to provide the customer, especially when the customer is in trouble. That's why we need to understand the customer category. හරි, legal action කෙනෙකුට කතා කරන විදිහයි, approach කරන විදිහයි, deal කරන විදිහයි වෙනස්. Doubtful, difficult and early default කෙනෙකුට කතා කරන විදිහ. Right? So you getting my point, right? Then this is like process, what's the problem? Nature, seriousness, bank's position, what's our future plan, and then implement plan and monitor results, because this is anyway important, right? So we might have a strategy, the account level strategy. So we need to understand what is the problem. It could be something external impact, or causes swelling when up එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Maybe COVID example, maybe tourism example. So how serious? Now they can't come out of the problem until tourism kick started. එතකොට serious නේ. එතකොට දැන් අපිට එයාට දැන් is running a boutique hotel, for example. So he might not be able to offer that boutique hotel services to the locals. මොකද ඒක හැදිලාම තියෙන්නේ tourist focus කරගෙන. Then until we need to we need to have a proper solution of tourists coming to Sri Lanka, then we are unable to ask them to repay. You getting my point? So the seriousness could be high. But there is another tourist hotel, whatever, something. So where instead of tourist, you can offer it for local tourists. So then the seriousness is not so great. Nature is been, can handle. Until tourism improves, you can manage with the locals. Cash flow is not so great, but there may be average adequate cash flows. Then you might be able to extend the tenor. What are the options for the bank? Whether security is enough, collateral level, and then what is the exposure covered, whether any other banks also there. So what's the position against the exposure to liabilities, like that. So we need to understand and identify the situation. Then how to deal with the contingencies, so when that again, it's a new plan for future. And then how we are going to do that. Then based on that, so you will plan it and monitor. So let's say it's a restructure, it's a reschedulement, rehabilitation, maybe workout, maybe finding a new investor. So a hammer ekak mokak karat, you can continue with the agreed strategic plan. So then there may be chances of failure are less, probability of failure are less, because again, not like a new, this is a situation where you need to be a better control. Right? So if you are unable to do it, means then there may be some problematic situation of tackling the the problem, because it could again come in a bigger way, right? Give me a minute. Right. Then analysis of a problem loan. So it's like, further we try to, understand the situation where causes of the borrower's difficulties. That's what we learn under the causes of sickness. Then disregard previous data, investigate and construct current picture, because now we need to understand the status quo. I was telling you, because earlier, yes, a lot of things we have gone into detail and everything could be correct in a different perspective. Now things has been changed, like COVID example. Pre-COVID, yes, it's a different infrastructure, different environment, different taste preferences, different approaches by the customers. Now everything has been now changed. Etakota, you need to think what is the present situation, and based on that only that you can address and forecast the future. Up-to-date figures and projection, list of reports desired from the customer, because now again things has been changed. Now you need to revisit those projections and you have to get a fresh one. Review documentation to ensure they are in order to determine the bank's position options. So very important, because sometimes the documentation that you have got might now be changed. Example, if you're going to restructure another set of documents, let's say now you need to accommodate, for example, now customer may be lying at a different country. They may be taken a facility. Now you cannot send the documents to them and get it signed like that. Then there may be another alternative method of getting those things done, right? So I mean, in order to do those stuff, there should be legal consultant, right? And see whether how we're going to do and how well that protect the bank rights in case of a final, say, legal battle. Collateral value, it could be go up, down, and maybe changes. Liquidation versus going concern, viability analysis, because what is best? Make a cover hoila විකුණන එකද හොඳ? එහෙම නැත්නම් තව equity එකක් ගන්න මේක run කරන එකද හොඳ? එහෙම නැත්නම් downsize කරලා මේක run කරන එකද හොඳ? Like that. So you need to have several scenario analysis. Now maybe customer could be liking or not, but you need to see what is exactly possible. Right? Not just to say it's good that we offer another 3 months, 6 months and grace period and see kind of thing might not work, because all other facilities are in NPL and then unable to repay. Then api tawa ටිකක් drag කරා කියලා with the grace period kind of might not be a proper strategy. You just postpone the problem, might not good for you to get a kind of a proper result. Ascertain attitudes of other creditors without revealing the bank's concern, because we need to see what others is going to do, right? Say we are going to offer a reschedulement, similarly other banks also going to do the same. If other banks going to do the reschedulement and then you are going to demand it in a different way, might not work, right? Because the customer is in trouble, then everybody has to do in a common strategy. Later, sometimes you also can negotiate, discuss with other banks and come up with a common strategy to support the customer, right? Seriousness. So we will talk about, so we need to understand the nature and seriousness of, so the seriousness of the problem loan could be changed or compounded by defective documents, poor credit evaluation, uncooperative or the dishonest borrower, mistakes, carelessness of the bank. I mean, you need to pay a heavy price if these things have taken place. Like maybe you have not complete set of documents, or you might not have taken, say, example, COC of a building. Maybe very difficult to get it at the legal stage, or you have not done the credit evaluation perfectly. Example, say instead of giving a term lending and working capital facility, you might have given only the term lending. Now the customer is not sending the cash flow to you, route into some other bank, because obvious reasons is because we are not offering adequate working capital sort of option. So hence that we are unable to track what the customer is doing, what the business levels and all that. So again, you need to discuss, convince the customer, route the type of credits that you require, right? Very important. Uncooperative, dishonest, like willful defaulters, may not be easy to deal with because because the customer is a willful or defaulter or a dishonest borrower, then may not very easy for you to negotiate in a good faith. So sometimes you end up with legal action. So then you need to understand the type of customers. Very difficult to understand the customers creditworthiness level, as we discussed earlier also. But using whatever the expertise that you have in terms of credit, and then you need to see that based on the behavior what type of the customer is, right? Maybe careless mistakes done by the bank could put the bank in trouble, especially when you go for a legal action or for legal remedies, right? So these are some of the things that we can discuss, like what are the actions, right? Again, very important sometimes, right? That examiner could ask, like what are the remedial, like we talk about medium, soft, and high actions that we can take on customers, right? Here we talk about activities, right? Frequent higher quality customer contacts. I mean, always you need to keep a good customer contact, right? Is in good books, good relationship, right? You can't drop the customer at any time because you need to be with the customer, whether good or bad. Then only you can get most of the things done. Management changes, downsizing, additional financial support, selling collateral, additional collateral obtaining, renegotiate terms of loan, government agency support, take over by another financial institution, sale of business. You can advance more funds, appoint bank officer, the company board. So these are some of the things that on going concern basis, right? So you can do, because now we understand the business is in trouble. Now it's classified as a sick business. I mean, based on whatever the parameters. Now you need to maybe under medium category, right? You can use some of these remedial measures to have more control, track the business direction, right? Still by doing these activities, you are in a position to get back the loan from non-performing to the performing. These are some of the things we call like more technical perspective, like those are the activities. So under those activities, we will do these actions like restructure, reschedulement, rehabilitations, right? So though that in Sri Lanka, we are not very much differentiate what is reschedulement and restructure. We treat them as one, like rescheduling the credit facilities, but rehabilitations, you can do these type of things as well. Further advances, sometimes yes, though it's bad customer, maybe the customer is in bad situation due to lack of funding, right? Now things has happened, but going forward, yes, you might have to consider additional money. Maybe there is a valuable collateral, but the customer may not be exactly doing very good, right? But additionally give another 5 million or 10 million when the exposure is 100 million to get some cash flows routed through your account may not a bad thing to do, right? Because in doing so, right, you are trying to make customer more motivate to deal with you. Deferment of interest payment, concession on interest payments, like if he's going to fully settle or partly settle, you will reduce or waive it of some interest payment. And ease of restrictive covenants. There may be covenants which may not be possible to comply in a new situation. So sometimes with the discussion with the customer, you might be able to waive it off something. And conversion of interest or principal into equity. So there may be a requirement because now the customer is unable to do some kind of those things. So you will convert it to the equity through share, right? Outright concession of principal due. Sometimes you will waive it off, you will write it off, part of the capital, right? Work out. So these are some of the things that one can offer in terms of supporting the customer, right? So these things that you can read, work out legal action. This is a hard activities that we are trying to understand, right? So if we can't do nothing, I must say, if you can do the all activities, yes, you might have taken like under medium to soft recovery, but failing which, then its only alternative is to take legal action. Then as a last resort, yes, we are on to that. Only thing is we need to remember is this is very costly and time consuming also, right? Because not easy to get these things activated, especially go to courts, taking third parties and parat, like so many obstacles from the customer, right? So may not be very easy in terms of the legal action, right? Then what are the legal concessions we have? Because now we as a bank, we can execute a special provision act called Parate, where if the facility is owned, not third party, and the property is owned, and a facility is NPL, and outstanding is above 5 million. So if the facility outstanding is above 5 million, and if it is a non-performing stage, and the property mortgage towards the facility is not the third party, then we can execute bank's right in recovery under Parate. In all other cases that you need to go to Debt Recovery Act or money recovery or mortgage bond action. There may be so many other things also you can do. Most prominent legal support is where you can go to arbitration, right? So like I think it's we do have there where because sometimes rather than going to courts, you try to go to mediation boards. Sometimes you might have heard like Samatha Mandala. There may be that is something about up to 500,000. So there may be cases then through mediation board, bank and the borrower come to kind of a settlement, and then it's like more speedier, more friendly environment where most of the low loan amounts, I mean lesser amounts, can be sorted out. But beyond that, yes, if it is not Parate, then you have to take other legal activities, right? So I am not going to tell you that legal action is not viable, but all the experiences we had so far, I mean in every bank, it's a tedious, it's a time consuming, it's a costly exercise. But so we every time, so we try to minimize our focus on legal activities, though we have options. But just to get a kind of legal action initiated means it's a pressure point, right? So when you starting a legal action by sending a letter of demand, then the customer could be panic, pressurized, and to come for negotiation table. So that's a good technique. Like when you send a kind of a legal maybe a letter of demand through a lawyer, then customer is in a position, is in a renegotiation state of mind. So that is good. So then again you can negotiate again for a restructure or reschedulement, and then you can do those things. But beyond that, you take in a legal action other than Parate means it sometimes takes 5 to 6, 7 years also, depending on the case, depending on the the court's what do you call the focus, right? Not easy to get cases as we expected, but there's no alternative if customer is not cooperating with you. As I was telling, they are maybe dishonest, willful defaulters. There's no alternative. Right. Then this is again you can just read through, but it's if they have asked something about rehabilitation, you can get an idea. Is something again try to offer some of the activities which we have described earlier. So the objective is basically enable unit to operate at profitable level, to adjust the irregularity in the account if any according to phase program, because anyway we try to bring the customer back to performing level, right, through a restructure, to a reschedulement, then move into the legal action. We try to bring the customer back to the operating level. Then this is what generally what we do. Like it is again like a project, new project approval, because now in a new project you do a feasibility study, what we have discussed last week. So similarly, this is again the new set of scenario. New thinking is needed. Status quo has now been changed. Again, you have to think about the future forecasting. So everything has to be done. Based on that, you try to do a new proposal to a customer where right now he is in a difficult situation, 6 state. Try to bring him back to the performing level, right? Okay. These things that are not exactly necessary that you can read through. So before, just to give a kind of overview on what we have done, any questions? Any thoughts, clarifications? Yeah, Malaka, now in Sri Lankan context, restructure reschedulement is has taken together, but ideally in restructure reschedulement is basically, if you go by the technical definition, in a restructure, in a reschedulement, it should be rescheduled. It's only you change the tenor of a credit facility. That's how the reschedulement. Restructure is other than the tenor, you are trying to change all of the terms. It could be interest rate, it could be security, it could be terms and condition, tenor and everything. But in Sri Lankan context, we are not differentiate restructure and reschedule. So we'll take it as, the full change of terms and condition is a reschedulement. Even the central bank circular, they talk about reschedulement when we undertake all these terms change. But more technically, reschedulement is reschedule, only term changing, restructure, changing all terms including tenor. Rehabilitation is not a kind of a technical word, but set of activities. If you go one of the slides which I have described here, rehabilitation is basically is activity you try to remove the irregularity of the particular credit and try to make the profitable situation for a bank. This is what we try to do. Rehabilitation is like umbrella sort of thing. Under the rehabilitation exercise, restructure, reschedulement, loan sellout, so whatever those activities will be part of that, right? So rehabilitation is something in a bigger picture. You try to regularize the bad contract into a good contract while making some profitable initiative. So how we are going to do that is restructure is one, reschedulement, loan workout, loan sellout, maybe introducing an investor, give an additional loan. So everything could be within a part of the rehabilitation exercise. Is it clear, Malaka? Right. Any other questions? Sanjeev, Oshani? ඔක්කොම හරිද? notes ටික ඔයගොල්ලෝ දැන් මම හිතන්නේ කරපු ටික ඔක්කොම එකතු කරගෙන ඇති කියලා මම හිතනවා. And then what my plan is, I think we have like 2 to 3 weeks to go prior to New Year. So it's high time that we can start some revision and past papers. So we'll start revisions and the past papers from next week. So I have selected some questions. So start away as a start. So I will do those things with you. In the meantime, if you feel that there are some more to do, please select and let me know, so that I can be ready with those questions depending on the whatever the papers I'm having it. Probably I think I have every paper except the last year paper that is also available with me, so I'll try to get that scanned, and then means that I have all the papers with me. So if you do have any special requests, we'll do that. Anyway, I'm planning to start the some selected past paper questions by next week. So also I'll try to make a kind of some quick revision on what we have done. So I have done some few slides. So we'll start some revision like this model. Basically we'll discuss with models, though I think I have discussed those model in my regular classes. So as a recap, I will get the same repeated here, and once we do a kind of 1 or 2 area in a particular revision, and then we select some past paper questions and we complete that, and like that. So we'll do another set of area as a quick revision, and we do the past paper question. So that is my plan, and if you do have any other alternatives, please let me know by next week, or even you can send me a kind of tell me, because 3 or 4 of you that we can manage the kind of those inputs. Anyway, that maybe the classes would be over by 11th, I suppose. So then beyond that we have 1 to 1.5 months before exams. Maybe exams could start last week of May as per the schedule, I think the IBSL plan. But don't wait for the last moment, as I always telling you. Start it now, today, even yesterday, that you need to start kind of thing, because now, though this is a very easy paper, we try to get an advantage of that easiness and score as much as possible. So then when you are ready, your exam stress has come down a kind of bigger level. So that's we need to do. Right, that is my plan. And so any thoughts, suggestions from you in? Loan resettlement loan for interest need to pay accumulated and created an interest loan. So customer has to pay for both loan or only for rescheduled loan? It depends, Sanjeev. Now, generally what happen is in reschedulement, right? So many options we can discuss, but generally what happen is, let's say there is a loan right now, and a best option is like a capital we will reschedule, maybe the extended period, right? Instead of say remaining 15 months, so we'll offer 24 months to capital payment. And interest, ideally, if he can pay the accrued interest, he has to pay before the reschedulement, and future only the capital and relevant interest. That's the best for bank and the customer. Number 2, if the customer cannot pay the interest, you can take the interest as the separate loan, and you can give him a time to repay that without interest on the capitalized interest loan. Option 1. If not, you can take that interest into the capital and create a one capitalized loan, but for that you charge interest. So both options are there. So depending on the system requirement, depending on the system capacity, you can either go for the option 1 or option 2. There's a no method, a correct method, because many banks follow the latter. Like you capitalize the interest if the customer cannot pay to the existing capital and have that one loan extended period interest charge. But under the COVID moratorium, COVID-19, there may be so many alternatives has been given for the benefit of the customer. Right? There may be, the accrued interest during the moratorium, right? Or accrued interest and capital both put in a current account, and at the end of the moratorium period, that will be given to repay over 24 months or so at a nominal interest. That's a one option. Or they can, pay as a lump sum at the end of the moratorium and, continue the normal repayment schedule. So like so many options has been given. There is no hard and fast rule where how you do the reschedulement. But generally, the reschedulement is, at the reschedulement, you need to pay interest in arrears full, and then you extend the capital for a acceptable period. Is it clear, Sanjeev? Okay. Any questions from Oshani? Right. Okay, then thank you very much again for joining me. So let's meet next week at same time. So my plan is like, so we will do some revision plus the past paper questions. If you do have any questions in related areas, so based on what we discussed, please let me know. So even during the, this week, if you do have any area that you are particular, you need to be aware with, please let me know. I think I will give my number. Probably you might have it, and you can tell me if you do a further like any areas that I need to capitalize. So I need to focus. So because we have only 2 to 3 weeks, that we need to try as much as possible. Maybe focus approach, since there are 3 of you, so we can do kind of a tailor-made approach also. Okay, then thank you. So see you next week. Have a nice week.